Welcome to another exciting episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod.
And I am Bryce Runge.
Yay! Maybe. I don't know. Hey, it is good to be here. Kind of got an interesting show. We got somebody who's going to share all kinds of dirt on you. I am so geeked about this.
You know what? On second thought, we're going to end this. Yeah, we do have a very special guest. He's been a friend of mine since childhood. We've done life together for a very long time. We played high school football together. We've done a lot of life. And He lives in California. I'm trying to build this up and make you sound really awesome, Brian, but you already are.
You don't have to lie, man. You don't have to lie.
So he lives in California. He owns health insurance, right? Is that correct? I'm gonna let you get into all that stuff, but he's just a phenomenal husband, a phenomenal father. He's a CEO of this health insurance company, and we're just blessed to have you on our podcast. Rod and I were just talking the other day about having guests on a regular, and how much our guests not only just enrich our lives, but our listeners' lives. And I think it's important to continue having that. The more, I know you're going to be a regular because I know you have so much to pour out, and just the wisdom and knowledge that you have and that you're going to download tonight. I know it's going to be just super impactful. So I guess I'm gonna lead this tonight because Rod said I have to.
Sharing the wealth, man.
Right. So I'm in the driver's seat tonight, which I'm usually not. Rod does all the talking because he has diarrhea of the mouth. But
wow. Okay, you went there. All right, I got my notes going so I can take all kinds of stories about young Bryce.
Oh, my goodness. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn this over to my very good friend, Brian Bilhartz. Welcome to our podcast, Home Sweet Home. And if you'll just kick this thing off and just unpack your story for us.
Well, first of all, it's good to be home. Thank you guys for having me. I don't know about that build-up, man. That seemed a little excessive, but we're gonna make this work.
Well, it's Bryce. He's very excessive.
And gosh, I don't even know where to begin because we've got so many stories. We've done so much of life together. We've had our times of physical distance being between us. Like we have now, but we've been able to continue, on our relationship, on our life journey together. So grateful to be part of it. Be part of this experiment with you leading it tonight. Kind of makes me nervous.
Oh yeah, get ready.
Go, but yeah, I am ready, man. Let's go.
All right. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you're born and raised, what your family, siblings, brothers, sisters. I know you don't have sisters, but Brady, he's a little,
he's close. He's gonna be the closest that I have. But born and raised in Orange County, and I've slowly kind of moved eastward to my current residence in Indio, California. Have 4 kids, 3 daughters and a son, ages 20, 14, 10, and 8. My wife and I, the younger 3 are our 2 together. We do own an insurance agency together here in the geographic areas, the Coachella Valley, out in the Palm Springs area. So I have an insurance agency. I've been working in the Medicare health insurance industry for almost 15 years. I'll have my 15-year anniversary in October of this year. But I've had my own company. Actually, we're going to have our 10-year company anniversary in a couple of months. And actually next month in February. Oh, my gosh.
Nice.
So 10 years with the company. where we started off with just me as one agent. And today we have 34, 35 agents that are working with us and that, believe in me and my dream and my vision, and there's a whole lot that we can uncover with that, with the agency, maybe for a future show.
Right.
But, that's like our fifth baby, in this house is the company. So we're very blessed. We're healthy. We're an active family that never sits still, always in motion. Just really grateful for the gifts that we receive every day.
Right. Wow, I didn't realize 10 years. That's awesome, dude. I think about your story and I think about your business and how far you guys have come. I'm extremely proud of you. I mean, like you said, like 36 agents. That's huge, dude. And I don't know, we have, obviously our base is in Texas, in the North Dallas area. So if you're not familiar, it's Palm Springs. Do you know where Palm Springs is?
No.
Well, Palm Springs is probably where you're going to be in like 2 years because that's where all the old people go.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, really? You're going there? Kiss my grits.
No,
those are all my clients.
I shared with you earlier a lot of topics that I know that we could talk on. But tonight it was really on my heart, and I'll kind of just share the story, and then I'm gonna let you take off with it because I know you understand, you get it. I went to work today, and
You did?
yeah, I did.
Really?
I actually taught.
Wow.
Yeah.
Today in history.
So, I have my kids. Those are like my kids. Like, I love them. And there was my school kids. And, I come home. I pick up Briar. And then I come home. And then Suzanne has Bristol. And then Braddock's comes home. And then, everyone's doing their own little things. And then Briar starts crying. The baby's upset. And Suzanne's doing all this, making dinner. And then her dad comes over. And then Braddock's is pulling me in this direction. It's like, it's all over. And, not just as the leader of the house, the spiritual father of the house, but like, I'm like, oh my gosh, the one thing that word came to my mind was balance. And that's something that am I ever going to figure out how to balance all this? How do I fulfill everyone's needs? Because everyone's pulling and tugging at you. Not to say that's a negative thing, but balance. You're the CEO of a successful company. You're a husband. You're a father. Break that down for us, because I know you know a little bit about balance.
Yeah, it's so important, and it's something that it has to be intentional, right? It has to be something that you pay attention to make sure that you're distributing whatever weight you need to shift in whichever direction to make sure you're satisfying whatever's pulling the hardest on you, right?
Right.
So, you talked about your kids, Braddock's and Bristol and Briar. I'm going to just kind of add to the confusion because honestly, Bryce, when people ask me about like the names of my wife and our children together, I always throw you and your family in the mix. And what's funny is I've never thought about throwing your children into the conversation, but I'm talking about like your brothers.
Right.
So I don't know if you've ever talked about your three brothers, Brian, Brett, and Brad.
Once or twice.
Two brothers, Brett and Brady. And then my wife is Brandy, and her sister is Brittany, and then our three children are Brooke, Brianna, and Brylan. There's a whole lot of BRs going on there.
Well, and so Brent, Brady, and what?
All BR.
Yeah, and your middle name. So Brent, Brady, and Brian all have the same middle name, Dylan. Just like all of us, Brian, Brett, Brad, and Bryce have Edward. All the same middle name.
Oh, wow.
And what about our parents' names?
Oh, yeah.
G and SH.
G and SH.
Did you ever think about that?
That never even occurred to me. Oh, so his mom's His mom's name is Shelly. His dad's name is Gary. My dad's name is Gordon. Mom's name is Sharon.
Oh my!
Wow, that's funny.
The only thing you're missing is living across the street or next door to each other.
Well, we hope to get Brian out to the Lone Star State soon, right? Wink, wink.
You know what? Who knows what God's plan is?
Oh my gosh.
God's plan is, but we're not going to fight it.
Yep.
I'll put it that way.
Yep.
So it's funny that, we want to talk about this topic of balance because I think probably like the favorite household gift we got for Christmas was a balance board. And so it's got, this round tube in the middle, and then it's just a wood board. It's got, like the sticky tape on it, so you don't flip off of it. And I know when I'm on it, I'm not very good. I don't have as good a balance as my children. So I'm very obvious when I'm shifting my weight, trying to stay up and not let, it come down on either end of it. But that's kind of, it's such an analogy for, what we're talking about here with knowing how to shift your weight, knowing, where you got to apply more pressure and let off of pressure, in ways to make sure that you're staying, on level ground.
Right.
And so, with kids, with your family, your spouse, and with your career, whether, regardless of what your career is, if you're, a company employee or you're, a company owner, there's still balance that you have to find in your life. And, kind of like you said, with me having, this team of agents that are working under me, we're just coming off of our busiest time of the year. It's called the Medicare annual election period. It goes from October 15th through December 7th. And pretty much any agent will, in that 7.5 week period, will double the amount of business they wrote the previous 10 months.
Wow.
It is that insane of a time period. So, during that time, and our children understand that this is a time of the year when, we have to be all eyes, all ears, all energy focused, on this one task, which obviously breaks down to, hundreds, thousands of miniature tasks and all the encounters we have with, Medicare beneficiaries. But everybody in the house, especially because I've been doing it, for almost 15 years, understands, this is a time of year where they're not going to get a whole lot of attention from dad. And as my wife has come into the business more and helped me so much with organization and back end things, it's taken a big chunk of her time commitment as well. So, and this year was, I don't know if it's because we're coming off of, 2020, where it was just kind of a weird year for us because we usually are dealing with our clients on a one-on-one, basis, face-to-face basis. So last year we resorted a lot to doing Zoom and, other means of no contact types of enrollments. And we did see a pretty steep drop in our business that open enrollment period. But now this year, fast forward, it was significantly busier, significantly more on our plate. And so both, my wife and I, we're still trying to get our sea legs under us from that time period because it was crazy in a great way. We're so fortunate to be serving and helping, these Medicare beneficiaries understand, how all this stuff works, but it was overwhelming.
Wow. Yeah.
I gotta say that's gotta be tough. My wife does taxes, and this is her busy time of year of January, to the point that she's working 7 days a week. A short day is only 12 hours long. And it's stressful on her, but it's stressful on the whole family on the receiving end, where, you're doing the working, she does the work, and the whole house changes quite a bit, the dynamic, because the stuff that she normally does, well, now the rest of the house has to pick up and do, and then it does create a little bit of tension at the house.
Yeah, without a doubt, because again, life still moves on. Laundry still needs to be done. Floors still need to be cleaned. Dinner still need to be made, So everybody has to pitch in a little bit in order to try to keep things as close to balance as possible. But it is really, really difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, something that, because Suzanne and I, we're coming up on 4 years being married in February. And so we've gone through a lot in a short amount of period of time. We have 2 kids, and then with her mom passing and that whole 3-year process with that, and then her dad's still having cancer and dealing with all that. So there's been a lot packed in our short, time together. And I've always kind of felt like, man, I'm not giving my wife what she needs. I'm not giving Braddock's what he needs, and Briar and Bristol. And I've always kind of felt a little guilty about that, and that frustrates me. So I don't know. And maybe I'm just a tough critic, or maybe I'm just listening to that, the negative voice that I shouldn't be listening to. But I don't know. I seem to have always kind of struggled with that whole balancing act. I don't know.
Maybe you need a balancing board.
Maybe I do.
It really is a lot of fun. And I think when if you do compare it to life, I think it'll just help you understand, I used to have a really good friend of mine who talked about people that said that they were multitaskers. And my friend would always say, you only have 100% of you that you can give. You can't give 150. You can't give 120. There's only 100%.
Right.
So you could either make a decision to give 100% one direction, or 50% two directions, or 25% four directions, or 80% one direction and 20% the other direction. But you can't give 100% everybody at the same time.
Right.
There's only one of you. So I think just the fact that you think about these things, that you have that self-awareness, I think that speaks volumes to who you are and your character, because I just feel like most people walk around doing their life day to day and not really thinking about how they're having an impact on those around them, those they love, those they care about. It's just they go from one situation to the next, to the next, to the next, and don't really, stop to reflect and say, hey, could I have done something different? Could I have changed my tone, my attitude? To me, that's a character of a good man right there.
No. Well, did you hear that?
I'm sorry, what? I guess I wasn't. No. But I think you're onto something there, Brian, because if we're a little more aware, then maybe we're a little more conscious. So, because I think that, again, in anything, it's like, I guess balance will be the, overused word this time. But if you're able to understand that, hey, I need to, a self-evaluation where you're honest but not too critical, then maybe you can. And you can say, well, okay, yeah, true self-analysis. I may not be doing as much as what I could. So can I pick up a little here? Can I do something a little extra there to help out?
Right.
Again, for me, trying to make the meals. Before I went to bed last night, I ran the dishwasher. Before I left for school this morning, I emptied the dishwasher. Now, normally I start it, I rarely empty it. But again, the idea of helping pick up slack, well, that's, I know that it will make life easier in the morning for everybody at the house.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's the idea is, to Bryce's point of being aware of this stuff, it's because he is thinking about others. He's not just thinking about, well, like in your case, Rod, what you were saying with the dishes, well, I don't normally do that, so why do I have to do that? You did it with a joyful heart because you said, look, there's a lot of extra pressure right now, on my wife, and one of the ways I could be a good husband is to help her. to help her, not have to worry about taking care of, some of these mundane tasks.
Right.
That's really what they are.
Sorry, were you going to say something? Did I cut you off? Anyways, you said something earlier, and it's, as a leader, I think it's absolutely crucial that you spend time, and you're going to know this when I say it, in reflection. And not once a month. For me, I try and spend, and maybe if it's just 5 minutes a night, I'm trying to intentionally reflect, But I think that's just such a, I'm trying to think of the word. Can you help me? Can you finish my sentence? Never mind. I don't even know why you're here. You're useless. I just think that's such a beneficial piece to, as a leader, as, someone who wants to continue to grow, right, and get better. Talk to us about that real quick. What's your reflection look like? Because I know you do.
Yeah, you have to, and especially, I guess the most relatable aspect of it for me does come from a work perspective, especially, when I have newer agents that are coming on board and, I'm showing them the ropes, I'm teaching them the business, I'm teaching them the products. And, I always have those moments of reflection where I go, hey, should I have, explained it this way? Should I have given them more examples? Should I have, fill in the blank? There's so many different situations there, but one of the things for me, one of the ways I try to live my life is not by the definition of insanity, just doing something repetitiously because it's worked before, it's worked in other situations. Somebody else has found success in it. And that's something that I tell a lot of my agents, especially when they come to me from another agency, where, they might come to me and then I explain something to them and how I would perceive a situation with a client. And they say, well, no one's ever, done it like that before. Nobody's ever taught me that before. One of the things that I say to them is, well, I'm not here just to do things, because somebody else has done them that way. I want to be more thoughtful, more considerate. I want to think outside the box, to make sure that whatever our goal is, that not only are we achieving that goal, but everybody that's involved is going to benefit from it. So, reflection is critical because it prevents you from just being repetitive in everything that you do. And, maybe it helps you set new goals. If there's something that you do find that you are very repetitious in, when you reflect on it, it helps you to say, okay, that here was the outcome that I had from that, and that outcome was fine, but what could I have done better? What could I have achieved that would have been better, again, for everybody involved?
Yeah. I have a little sticky note next to my desk at school, and it's on the wall, and it says, how can I get better at this? And it's just like a constant reminder when, throughout the day, and especially at night, like you just said, as I'm in reflection, man, I shouldn't have said that, shouldn't have done it that way, or shouldn't have responded like that. But that's just a growth mindset, and we've talked about that before. Cultivating the growth mindset and steering clear of the status quo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you use your reflection, Brian, with family members, with your wife, with your kids?
Yeah, I do. I probably more so with my kids, if I'm being honest about it. Especially in those ugly moments where you have that bad knee-jerk reaction, and you go, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe, I responded that way." What triggered in me, or what mind frame was I in when this situation came up? I like to believe that every parent does that. I don't know if they all do, but yeah, as a parent, you definitely have to. And with my spouse, I'm the perfect husband, so there's no reflecting me.
I was thinking the same thing.
Really? Because, when I was talking to Suzanne earlier, that's not what she said.
What'd she say?
She said, you need to eat more chocolate.
Something, Brian, that we have talked, about early on, about the vision we see as a married couple, the vision we see as a family. We've established as a married couple core values. And something that two things that we strive to be really good at is being a very good apologizer and an exceptional forgiver. And when you said that, Rod, you asked Brian that, I've done that, and I find myself doing that with the girls, but I know that I've done that with Braddocks quite a bit. And like you said, I had, I missed the mark, or I was off that day. And I recall moments where I got down on my knee and grabbed Braddock's hands, and I'm like, "Listen, here's the deal. There's no way I should have said that, and I'm sorry, and I'm gonna work to get better at fill in the blank." And even through him, he's like, "Dad, I get it. I know we're not perfect, and I forgive you because I love you." And that just that melts my heart. But it's like we're trying to cultivate that in him, because I know that when we have an unforgiving heart, what does that turn to, Brian?
Yeah.
So
we know lots of people with unforgiving hearts in our lives, right?
Yeah. So we try and do that. We'll run into conflict, and we'll say things that we shouldn't, and we'll end up in reflection, and then we'll circle back around, and then there's the I shouldn't, but we pinpoint it. There's no way I should have said that or whatever, right? And then the forgiveness then finds its rightful place.
How does that help you guys then with balance as you reflect on an immediate situation or a day long, a week long, a month long issue? How does that then make it easier for you to balance then, the work, the home, life?
I think when you have these situations that come up where you have, an inappropriate reaction or inappropriate behavior, and you do that reflection, I think what the purpose of that reflection is to correct miscommunication, misunderstanding. And, for me, that's kind of my interpretation of why you would do that, because that's the key. Communication is the key in every relationship, whether it's with your spouse, with your children, with your clients. And the, effective communication, not just effective communication, but also there comes, having an understanding heart to, understand other people's perspectives and where they're coming from and maybe their life's experiences. You got to put, some empathy in there. But I think, having those reflections and going back to, whoever you committed those, actions against, it's just, it establishes that level ground again, where both, parties involved are back to being comfortable in each other's presence and aren't, on guard or feeling defensive, every time the other person walks into the room.
Right.
So you're reducing the stress from the confrontation. Reducing the stress then helps kind of maintain a balance, an equilibrium of, hey, things are okay. Is that what I hear you say?
Yeah, I think if you put it in the context like that, I think when you really look at life, you want your home to be that safe place, because outside the four walls of your home, there's all kinds of other forces that are working against you. Wow. Working against you as individuals, working against you as a family, working against you as a couple, working against you as whatever your role is for your career. So, yeah, absolutely. You want to reduce those stresses in your home, because that's your safe place. That's supposed to be your haven. Your home is your haven. And if it's not, then, how do you feel when you walk outside and all these other stresses start bombarding you and coming at you?
Yeah.
I like the way you said that because, you know, there are so many things that can tip us, or at least for me, I find, between the school, the classwork, the college classes that I'm taking, then the dynamics of home, because at our house we have 3 generations living under one roof, and that can be a bit stressful. So I'm glad you brought up, about home, because I think that's what okay.
You'd like to think so.
I would like to think that everybody would like to feel comfortable when they are home, and if, using reflection to go and to, as your little sticky note says, what can I do to do this better? Well, how could I have handled that, confrontation? Because my wife and I, we talk about that a lot. Usually it's because, I put my foot in my mouth because I have foot and mouth disease.
You have foot and mouth disease. Like every month you have that.
Every month? I don't know that I ever, it's kind of like a rash. It just goes away and then comes right back. But, trying to, because it does. When I do, it makes things uncomfortable at home. And that's, it tips the balance to an uneven way. So I like the way you guys have answered my question, because I wasn't sure, but I can now better visualize in my mind how some of the things that I normally do would fit into this concept of balance, and something I could do differently to make it more of an overall balance, not just for me, but for the other people that are under not just our roof, but beyond that, the extended family.
Right. Yeah. And another thing that I'm glad that you said, Brian, is like, when we open the door, cross over that threshold and go out to the world, man, sometimes I forget about the things that are against us, right? So I'm glad that you said that, man, because it's the reality. That is our reality. And so if we're not intentional to cultivate balance, right, in the home and reduce the stress and create effective communication within the family dynamic, then we go outside and, man, we're fighting harder than sometimes we would like, because exactly what you just said. So I'm glad you said I you know what, I forget that quite a bit, actually, because I feel like, man, there's all this going on, and I'm busy here and I'm busy there. And then sometimes I forget about some of the things that I write in my book, or the Wednesday wake up call, or the stuff that we do on the podcast. It's
Sure.
So again, why you're on the podcast, to help us get better. You're not just you're enriching our lives, man, and that's so. I'm glad you pointed that out. The other thing too is, and we talk about this pretty frequently, almost every episode, about the communication. Our podcast. The mission behind it is to help equip families with tools to thrive. We know communication is paramount. It's paramount.
Yep, absolutely.
And
Absolutely. Go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say that when we do this and we talk about this frequently, for me, it helps me remember. And I even try and do this in the classroom. Actually, you'll be proud of me, Bryce, I shared it this week, about listening to understand versus listening to respond.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which I learned from you from doing, from our podcast conversations. And it is amazing how, just for me, it helps in being able to, I guess, find balance in how I engage with other people at work, at home, driving, or in line at the grocery store, wondering why they can't hire more clerks, all those kinds of things.
Jeez.
First world problems.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. I think Rod cut you off. What were you going to say?
Yes, I'm sorry.
I have to say that I kind of gleaned that message really from work because, the environment that we work in, there's a lot of unscrupulous people in this business that are in it for themselves, that are in it for the money. And what ends up happening is they end up forgetting about the people they're there to serve, right? The client. And so I'm constantly, preaching to my team, to my agents, the importance of exactly, Rod, what you said. And I remember reading this in a book somewhere, Bryce, you can refresh my memory, that we listen to understand and not to respond. I read that in a book somewhere. So,
Really? Here, I always thought that was a Bryce Runge nugget of information.
What is it? That's it right there. It's so important. And I'm constantly telling my team, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. We need to be a better listener. In the context of the work that we do, listening, our clients give us the answers. It's like Jeopardy. We get the answers to what they need, and if we can find the questions, how to get to those questions, then we're going to have ourselves a new client. And so you see too many people, and I know too many people personally in my life that you just see them sitting there waiting for you to finish so they could jump in and respond.
Right.
And they're not asking clarifying questions, and they're not, summarizing what you said. They're just, boom, well, I'm ready to jump on to the next point. And it's the same thing, in the world of business, and at least in my world of business, where there's people that they're just waiting for their customer to stop talking, and then boom, they're moving on to the next thing. And,
right.
I try to teach away from that kind of behavior.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. And that's why you continue to grow, because you're attracting people because of who you are as a leader, and that's huge, man. I'm just proud of you. I really am. I'm proud of you. I'm fortunate to have you in my life. I'm just looking forward to the day you move to Texas, hopefully soon. But we are. I'm sorry.
What?
I'm not used to doing all the talking. Rod's just sitting over there picking his nose. Did you have anything you wanted to say?
No, thank you for asking that.
We're running a little bit towards the end of what we typically film or record, but we definitely can't end this call without some fun stories, man.
Yes, please. I need dirt.
Dirt, huh? Well, I think that leads right into. Would you like to start the conversation? You want me to start?
Oh gosh, I mean, that Ford truck.
Yes.
Your dad's old Ford truck. Oh my gosh. Whenever it rained, anytime and every time it rained, I would go over to his house or he'd come and pick me up, and we had this old Ford, beige Ford 6-cylinder truck,
yep.
2-wheel drive. And we would go look for mud anywhere and everywhere. And I remember specifically one time we were romping in the mud over there off of Van Buren and Orange Store.
Oh, yeah.
And we had our headlights, or you turned the headlights off because we're like, we don't want any police officers to see us romping in the mud of this field. And you stopped. And it was you, myself, and then our member Joe.
Yep. Yep.
He was there with us. And you stopped, and Joe and I were like, what are you doing, man? Just keep going. And you're like, I don't know, man. I just got a weird feeling. And you turned your headlights on, and there was a metal pole.
Yep.
Seriously, 8 inches away from the front bumper of your dad's truck.
I remember that.
That was like, oh my gosh, how did you know?
Man, we talked about that earlier. Yeah.
You're psychic?
Yeah, I'm definitely psychic.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, that led into. I think we thought someone. I don't think we thought it was a cop, but someone like was trying to run us out of this field.
Was this the same story?
This is the same night.
It was the same night.
Yeah, and so we get out of this field because we think someone's coming after us, right? We're just young punk kids, and this
Last weekend?
Yes, this was last weekend. This truck is covered in caked in mud. So, anyways, we get out of this and we go back to Joe's house, and he kind of lives. It was dripping, and we parked straight in because he lived. It was like a dead end, right? Yeah, and I parked straight in. At the time, Brian was driving a. You had a what year was that?
It was a '68 VW Bug with a Stinger, which was a straight pipe that came out of the back of the car.
Oh, yes.
So we parked that bad boy truck. It's dripping mud, and then Brian's like describing, the Stinger, because I think that was fairly new, wasn't it?
I mean, I'm pretty sure it was, yeah.
And he's like, take it for a spin. Well, that's exactly what I did. It's I don't know, midnight or something like that, and
Gotta be close to midnight.
I'm ripping through this small little neighborhood, 60, 65, 70 miles an hour, and this thing is just piercing up and down. I finally get back to the house, and I park it, and I get out, and we're standing on the lawn, and like seconds later, there's about 4 cop cars that swarm us. And they all get out, and Brian, he has a few choice words for me. And
thank you. I love you. What a great brother you are.
And I forgot what the officer said when they were rolling up on us. And I'm pretty sure I said, that's not mine, it's his. I'm pointing to Brian. And one of the cops, as he's walking up, he like kind of does this like gaze, and he does another look, and he goes, "Oh, hey, what's up, Bryce?" And I'm like, "Oh man, hey, how you doing, officer?"
Officer Kripke.
Oh, and Brian was so pissed. He thought he was so mad at me, but knowing that officer, I think that saved our rear ends. But it was funny too because they walked over in my dad's truck, didn't they?
They did, and they made a comment about the dripping mud.
Yeah. Yep.
Because they said, "Oh, we got some reports about a truck over off of the urine."
No, that wasn't us.
I don't know what you're talking about, officer.
We're reflecting and meditating, so
We're trying to find balance.
Trying to find balance. Oh my gosh! And that car was so loud, and I remember like talking to Joe about it. I'm like, dude, when is he gonna come back? It's so late. It's so loud. But you kept going. You made like 4 laps, dude.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, it was.
Oh man.
I thought it was something cool. Yeah, I'm glad that.
Wait. You thought? You still think that?
You're right. But yeah, I'm glad that they didn't show up anytime sooner because they would have had me pulled over and in handcuffs in the neighborhood on the other side of the. Jeez.
Driving that fast through a neighborhood? Yeah. I mean, it was a straight road.
Yes.
A very long, straight road, so.
Well, Brian, man, it's been very impactful. You provided with just a ton of insight. I'm appreciative of your time.
Me too.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, and so we're getting to the end. We want to be mindful of your time. We know you've got some kids and a beautiful wife, and you've got work in the morning. No, it's Saturday, but you probably do work on Saturday.
When you're self-employed, man, it never stops.
Yeah, so
Customers need help,
we want to be mindful of your time, and you get back to that balancing board that you've got. But seriously, thank you so much. I know you're going to be a regular because we have a lot more stories to tell.
I need more stories.
I think the next one I'm just going to give them a little teaser. The night it was at IHOP, and we had some gangbangers that pulled the gun on you. So we're going to come back to that one at a later time. But yeah, so. Yeah, so seriously, thank you. I love you, brother, and we're gonna reconnect again very soon.
All right, thanks, Brian.
You got it, Rod. Nice to meet you.
Same here.
Next time.
All right. Well, then I guess that's it.
That's it. Close us out. Do your thing, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Rod.
That's it?
I'm trying to maintain balance, baby.
Okay, and I'm Bryce.
Until next time.
See ya.